Γεια.
Η καλύτερη μαθήτρια.
Λέω ο δάσκαλος με καλεί.
Έλα, πες την αλήθεια, το έχεις ανοίξει καθόλου?
Τώρα αυτές τις μέρες όχι. Την προηγούμενη
Χαίρετε.
εβδομάδα το άνοιξα.
Hello.
Αλλά
Χαίρετε.
τώρα Hello.
Καλησπέρα.
Ναι,
Για πες.
τώρα με όλα αυτά που έχουν με το τρέξιμο με την Ελούντα έχουν λίγο πήγε πίσω. Αλλά ναι, θα το βάλω περισσότερο στο πρόγραμμα από αύριο. Όχι, γιατί όντως με ενδιαφέρει, δεν θέλω να το κάνω έτσι.
Βάλω και κανένα διαγώνισμα.
Μπράβο.
σε κανένα μήνα.
Μήπως θα μας βάλεις και κάτι να κάνουμε την ώρα που μιλάς.
Υποθέτω ότι κάνετε όσοι θέλουν, δηλαδή ότι κάνουν αυτά που κάνω εγώ ταυτόχρονα.
Ναι, εγώ καμιά φορά δεν προλαβαίνω και προτιμώ να τα ακούω, ας πούμε.
Ναι, κοίτα, και εγώ πιστεύω ότι είναι καλύτερο από το να είσαι συγκεντρωμένος παρά να κάθεσαι να γράφεις ή να κάνεις κάτι άλλο. Κοίτα, όπως και να έχει, θα πας να το προσπαθήσεις μόνος σου, δεν θα τα καταφέρεις, δεν θα ψάξεις να βρεις που είναι το πρόβλημα, θα γυρίσεις πίσω. Αυτή η όλη... Κοίτα, αν ας πούμε το ξεκίναγες και κατάφερνες και τα έκανες όλα τέλεια, μετά δεν θα θυμόσουν τίποτα. Γιατί δεν θα υπήρχε κάπου τριβή στον εγκέφαλο σου να κολλήσεις. Οπότε στην ουσία θα μάθεις καθώς σου σπάνε τα νεύρα. Αυτή είναι όλη η ουσία του γιατί πρέπει να τα ανοίξεις το πρόγραμμα για να προσπαθήσεις. Και αν σου σπάνε τα νεύρα είναι καλό. Γιατί μαθαίνεις εκείνη τη στιγμή.
Ναι. Ορθά τοποθετήθηκες.
Είναι που το έχω ακούσει. Πώς χτυπάς το πόδι σου σε μια γωνία το μικρό το δαχτυλάκι και πονάς και μαθαίνεις να μην το ξαναχτυπήσεις. Ουσιαστικά ο πόνος δεν είναι πόνος αυτό που σου έρχεται εκείνη τη στιγμή, είναι γνώση. Σου έρχεται συμπιεσμένη γνώση εκείνη τη στιγμή που σε πονάει. Για να μην το ξανακάνεις.
Έχουμε μαζέψει πολύ γνώση σε αυτή τη ζωή, δηλαδή. Βάζει, αυτό είναι μια αισιόδοξη.
Ναι.
Είναι μια αισιόδοξη οπτική.
Λοιπόν, Έλληνες βλέπω. Ναι. Να ξέρω αν θα το κάνουμε στα ελληνικά ή στα αγγλικά. Αφού βιντεοσκοπείτε θα πρέπει να το κάνω στα αγγλικά.
Ηλία, το προηγούμενο δεν ανέβασες, νομίζω.
Δεν έχω προλάβει, ναι. Εδώ πέρα η κυρία Λίκη θα σου εξηγήσει το λόγο.
Εμείς φταίμε.
Εντάξει.
Αλυσοδέσει εδώ πέρα. Αλλά θα τα ανεβάσω.
Είναι πολύ βοηθητικά αυτά τα βίντεο.
Ωραία. Τουλάχιστον να ξέρετε ότι μπορώ να τσεκάρω views, έτσι.
Κάναμε και εγγραφή subscribe.
Δεν έχω κάνει subscribe.
Καλά, δεν κάνεις και κάτι.
Και καμπανάκι όταν ανεβαίνει καινούριο βίντεο. Αχ, ναι. Ωραία.
Λοιπόν, έχει πάει και 32 και εγώ είμαι αυστηρός με αυτά τα θέματα. Οπότε
Ηλία, μία ερώτηση έχω να σου κάνω, έτσι γρήγορη.
Ναι.
Πώς μπορούμε να κάνουμε ευθυγράμμιση των κέντρων κάποιων αντικειμένων?
Ναι.
Αυτό κάποια στιγμή, όταν το έχεις, να μας το δείχνει.
Ναι, στο δείχνω και τώρα, δεν είναι και κάτι σοβαρό. Όταν εννοείς κέντρα, εννοείς την πλέτη τελεία, το origin, το σημείο...
Το origin.
Κοίτα, αν θέλεις, καταρχάς υπάρχει ένα add-on, Edit Preferences Add-ons, που είναι αυτό εδώ, Align and Distribute.
Okay.
Δεν το έχω εγώ κλικαρισμένο, γιατί ουσιαστικά δεν θα το χρησιμοποιήσεις και ποτέ, να σου πω την αλήθεια. Δηλαδή, κοίτα, εσύ αυτή τη στιγμή πιθανότατα να σκέφτεσαι κάτι, μια διαδικασία που κάνεις συχνά σε κάποιο άλλο πρόγραμμα.
Ναι.
Μην το προσπαθείς έτσι. Δηλαδή, ξέρω ότι προσπαθείς να πατήσεις κάπου για να ξεκινήσεις κάτι, αλλά δεν είναι κάτι άλλο. Αλλά μπορώ να σου πω πολύ εύκολα, κοίτα, αν θες να τα ταιριάξεις αυτά τα δύο, ας πούμε, μπορείς να δεις πού είναι το καθένα. Δηλαδή, αυτό το αντικείμενο χ, ψ, z είναι σε αυτά τα νούμερα και άμα θέλω να το φέρω, αλλά
Οκ, κατάλαβα, ναι.
θα το πας με snap, ξέρω εγώ. Αλλά υπάρχει μια τεχνική που θα τη χρησιμοποιήσεις πολύ. Δηλαδή, hello Sarah, sorry for speaking Greek a bit. If I want to align these vertices between them, let's say these edges, if I press S for scale and Y to lock the scale axis, and then I type 0, they're on different height, wait, yeah. And I type 0, then they're going to align, because I am essentially saying that the scale, the distance between them, scale it to 0, so they're going to align.
Okay.
And there is also an add-on. We haven't talked much about add-ons. There is also an add-on for making this with a shortcut. It's you don't have it. It's free, by the way. Anyway, I will talk about add-ons on a later course. So if I press my keyboard shortcut, which you don't need to learn, Control Alt and C, they align instantly. So, and you use this all the time. So that's why someone wrote a whole add-on for just this function.
Okay.
But anyway, if you learn to be fast on your fingers, S, Y, 0, that's it.
S, Y, 0. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Scale
you.
on the y-axis, 0, 0 multiplier. It's a multiplier. So now we are going to continue with our bookshelf. We are going to do the first steps a little bit faster, so we don't get bored. So we just made last time the sides of the bookshelf. So Shift A to create something, to add something to the scene. Mesh cube, because the shape of the wooden part is more like a cube. If it was a leg chair, maybe we would place a cylinder. You don't place a cube to create a cylinder. You can do that, but there's no point in doing that, of course. And so Shift A, add a cube, and let's see, our dimensions are 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. I haven't seen anywhere someone showing that you can place by default dimensions of a basic mesh. So unfortunately, every time you're going to get these dimensions. But of course, if you work with furniture all the time, and let's say you make kitchen cabinets or something like that, where your main item has these dimensions, you can just create it and save the file, save it as a startup file. So each time you open Blender, you will have this piece waiting for you to work on it. So I've changed the dimensions. Of course, always remember that the scale also has changed. So we are going to apply to reset, let's say, the scale by pressing Control and A, apply scale, and the axis went back to 1. And I would like to take the origin point to the bottom of my shape, so I can measure everything from the bottom up, instead of always thinking that I'm in the middle, my dimensions here and all that stuff, calculate from the middle. So let's move the origin point, click on Options, click on Origins, and the 3 axes have appeared, and I can only modify this axis. So G for grab, lock to the Z axis, the movement, and I'll find a snap here, but my little magnet is not turned on, so I will press Control and hold it for temporary snap and click. And again, go to Options and click the origins point, And now, if you see, my transform location is showing minus 120 because my origin point is below 0, 0, 0. So if I click here on the location, my origin point to go to 0, and we're back. Maybe someone would like, let's say that the origin point is more helpful if it's at the back. Let's say no problem here, because you are going to, sometimes you are going to view it from the top and you would like to measure everything from here, or it's fine, it's no problem. But we will keep it at the center bottom, just to, maybe I'll try some modifiers later on which read on the origin point. And let's duplicate this shape with Alt and D. So I want to make instanced duplicates. That means if I change something to the original mesh, the duplicates will also change. So I've just pressed Alt and D. My move icon is turned on. I haven't pressed anything else. I will press X to lock the movement on the X-axis, type 42 because I want an internal distance of 40, and press enter, and I will do this again. I don't have to go through the whole process, but I can hold down Shift and press R to repeat the last command. Okay, so these are the sides of my bookshelf. So far so good, no one is asking anything. So let's create another box, and this time we won't go to Shift A, add mesh and cube. We will go to this icon, add cube. This icon was installed on these later versions of Blender, just to make your life easier. And when I click this and hold down, you will see other options, cylinder and cone and UV sphere and icosphere, different spheres. But I will click on the cube, and what appears is a grid. Let me zoom out a bit. So the grid changes depending on the zoom you do on the viewport. So this shows, clicking this icon shows a grid, and now and the grid changes according to the viewing direction of the polygons. We call that normal, the normal direction of the polygons. So this helps in what? If I take my mouse here to the corner and I hold down Control for temporary snap, I can snap, click and drag, and that was a bad snapping here, click and drag, and you see my new box is trying to be created. I haven't left Control. My new box is trying to be created on the side as it should be of the polygon, and now I left Control and I left click, and I just drag my mouse across the screen, and again I need a snapping point here, so I press Control and click, and I see in my dimensions that two of my dimensions are correct, 40 depth and 40 width, but my thickness is off because I want a thickness of 2 centimeters. You cannot make it precise unless you use snapping points. So no problem, I'll change this to 2.422. The scale has changed. I must apply the scale, Control A, scale, and of course, since I changed it, look, if I change a dimension, it will change according to my origin point. That is, if I try to change the thickness, which is 2, you will see that it changes, and it's according to the origin point, and it's dependent by it. So let's move the origin point to the bottom, And if I change the thickness now, you will see it goes towards the z-axis because my origin point is at the bottom. It cannot go below. Anyway, let's undo this and have the origin point at the center. There is a small difference here. So G for grab and hold down control for snapping. It shows the snap, click, okay. Now, I know that at the bottom I want to have a skirting. So, and that skirting would be 10 centimeters height. So I will move this shelf, grab for movement, Z to lock the axis. I write 10, enter. And now I would like to copy it here, Alt and D, lock the X axis, press Control for snapping, and repeat the process, but with Shift and R, and that's it. And I will hold down Shift and add to my selection. And I will duplicate them once again, Alt and D to the Z axis by 42, enter, Shift R, and my calculations were not correct, no problem. I'll go the easy way and just change the sideboards. So I'll select the first one, Tab, press Tab to go to edit mode, click here on the vertices or press 1 to go to the vertices, select the vertices, G for grab on the Z axis, and I find the snap here by pressing Control, temporary snap, and Tab to get out of the edit mode. Of course, all the other sides followed because if you remember, we made a copy by instance. Now, that doesn't mean that you should do everything like this because you must, if you do a lot of instancing with duplicates, you must have a mental image what was instanced. And a lot of times when you're a beginner, you forget what was instanced and go somewhere, work on some area, change something, and when you zoom out, half of the model has changed because you forgot about the instance. Mostly we use instances because we want to have less memory consumption, because this each item Blender internally keeps at least three numbers for each vertex and a lot of other stuff like surface properties, materials, and modifiers and whatever. And if these sideboards were separate objects, were not linked together, it would have to remember to store the information for this mesh times 4, okay, or 5, times 5. Instead, now it just keeps the information for the first, and the only thing that Blender internally stores is the difference in the XYZ axis of the rest of the instances. So the file is much less in megabytes. And of course, this is a simple bookcase. Just imagine that you have grass blades, because a lot of times you want to populate your exterior renderings with grass. And each grass blade might have like 50 polygons, and you would need 50 million grass blades to make it look, fluffy and nice, your grass. So this is much better to be stored instanced. You won't make a grass blade, okay? There are add-ons for it, but you will make a lot of other stuff that are dense in polygons, like let's say door handles, or let's say spotlights. because these are curved objects and require a lot of polygons to look smooth and nice. A recent test with the 4.3 and 4.2 blender was made, and someone managed to place 1 trillion polygons by duplicating a tree. Instance duplicating a tree and populated a whole hill. And Blender had no problem because, again, it just stores the difference in the XYZ, and also cycles. The render engine didn't have a problem, and that was really encouraging that it's built in a correct way. So we have this thing here. Let's say that these sideboards were not duplicated by Alt and D by instance. I have a shortcut here. I press Q. You also have the shortcut Q, which is for quick favorites. And in my quick favorites, I have a thing that says object and data. If I click this, it says make linked data local to each object. That means that if I have instances and I click on this button, the linked data of each item will become local to itself. So they will stop behaving like instances. So let's click this, and now they are separate stuff, separate meshes. And so let's say I want to change all of them. I can just select all of them, press Tab to go to edit mode, go to vertices, edges, or polygons, whatever you want. See clearly what I want to select, make a bounding box, and just, let's say, move them. G, Z, and 10. And again, they moved independently and at the same time. So let's try to make another box here. Let's
I have a question.
Yes, please.
If I want to have the shelves, now we kind of duplicate them knowing the distance in between, so 42 or something. What if I just know, okay, I want 5 shelves and they should be equally separated, and I don't care about the dimension itself, so it's calculating it
sure,
like automatically?
In this case, we will use a modifier called array modifier. So let's select 1, and I will copy the modifier to the other meshes. So I will go to my options panel here, and will go to the modifiers tab, click on the wrench icon, and I will find the modifier called, you might have a little bit different the settings here, but the modifier stays the same. Here you go, array modifier. Now it already created a duplicate, but at the wrong direction. Of course, we will try to change its settings. So it's a very important modifier. You will use it 100% in each project. It saves a lot of memory. It makes your life easier. And so let's see what options it gives us. Every option in every modifier is relevant, and you will need it. So, and try to understand how it is talking to you. So the fit type is look, this is a bit more for advanced. So let's skip that. It's important, but for now you don't need it for this simple bookcase thing. Let's go to count. Okay, count. Of course, it's how many duplicates you want to create. Okay, let's make 5. I don't care. So let's go to the first type of array, relative offset. Relative to what? To your original mesh. and it says here factor x. So in the x direction of the object, not your global direction, because my x-axis is here, the red one, but this one goes on the y-axis, but this reads on the local axis of the object. So, and you will see here in our stuff, in our details, that the x-axis is being rotated by 90 degrees. So, you know, that's why. So, the relative of offset will be one unit on this axis, on the x-axis. If I type 2, it measures the dimension of the object, and it places the duplicates accordingly to that dimension. Now, if I don't know what size my object is, I can unclick the relative offset, press the triangle to close the panel, and go to constant offset. Constant offset uses distances, dimensions. So I want to have my duplicates on the z-axis, on the up and down axis. So luckily, the modifier's axis on the z aspect are the same as the axis of my object. So, oh, maybe not. So the y-axis. Now look, let's clarify something here. You see, the z-axis also has a turn of 90 degrees. As we have applied the scale to 1, it's the same thing to apply the rotation to reset these things to 0. So the same thing, Control A, and instead of scale, I will click rotation now. Now, what it says, okay, it says, be careful because you have instanced objects, and if you try to reset stuff on one, you will have problems with the others. Now, I can do an apply, and the rest of the objects and this object became independent, and the other objects remain instance, or I can select all of them and go Control A and rotation. And it keeps the instance properties to everything. Now let's go back to our object, and now our rotation settings are at 0, so it should work on the z-axis. Hey, hello. The z-axis corresponds to the world z-axis because everything is rotated, applied the transformation, and you move it as you wish. Of course,
Elias,
yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We cannot see your cursor in general. Can we do something about it?
You cannot see my cursor.
Yes.
Settings. Why? I don't know. Where is it? Does anyone know? Record. So, language settings. Where settings? Why? On view, speaker, more options. I don't know. Maybe if I'm a speaker, you don't see it now, right? No. Okay. Wait.
No.
No. Sorry about this. Meeting option.
I Google it and it says something like your mouse is occupied by the black screen meeting, and you should try clicking Alt Shift. I don't know if
Alt Shift. I don't know what this means.
or F6 or F9. some other solutions.
Okay. F9. F6. No.
Maybe
F6.
outside of Blender and the King's program.
F9. Why? But you know, I had it in the turned on in the settings. It's just Microsoft. Everything has to be more difficult. Actions, audio. No, I cannot find it. To enable clean room, no. Why? Wait, maybe if I share my share my screen and not the program. Do you see it now?
Yes.
So who knew?
Okay.
Why? Anyway, so you have the array. Unfortunately, you cannot do like the first gap to be 20 centimeters and the rest to be 4, but it would be a bit complicated. You don't need to go that far. So this is this is the constant offset. We also have the object offset, and that means that if I have an object here, which is this distance from that object, and I click on the eyedropper tool and click on that object, you see that it read the distance, and if I move it, it updates. So this is nice. I haven't used it a lot, but it's good to know. And under that, it has an option of merge. Maybe you want to, maybe your duplicates touch and you would like to merge their vertices. Under that, it's the UVs. If I have a texture on this one, let's say, it will repeat exactly on the other meshes. So if I had a wood pattern here, the same exactly wood pattern would appear to the duplicates, and that's not nice. So it has an offset of U and V. When you see UVW, it's like XYZ. Because they can't use again XYZ, they named it UVW. So U is the X, let's say, axis. V is the Y-axis, and there is no Z-axis because in textures are always flat, so there is no height in textures. So you move them on the duplicates, and what's the last one? Caps, I don't know what this does, never used it. Probably I should know. Anyway, so we have this modifier, and although you would expect that because my meshes are instanced and whatever I change on a mesh level, on the vertices or polygons or edges level, it will change on the others. Also, you see that the modifiers, the modifier hasn't been applied to the others, to the other instances, and that is the best thing about modifiers, because I can keep one object with one type of data, so I don't flood my memory, my GPU graphics card memory, but I can change the other instances by placing modifiers that have different values. And modifiers don't take memory also, because it's just a script telling what the original mesh should do. So again, it doesn't create new vertices with new data. So one way to copy the modifier on the other objects, even if they are instance or not, doesn't matter, any object, let's say this shelf to this panel, first of all, the one having the modifier must be the leader, the color, the outline color that is more, you know, brighter. So if, let's say, let's go again. I click on this one and I add to my selection by pressing Shift and click on the other object, but I don't want this object to be the leader. So I will go back to the original, press Shift and click on that. I added in quotes, I added to my selection, but it was not really an addition. It just made the last selected item the leader. Now, of course, you can just click on this one and then shift click on the one with the modifier. No problem. I'm just saying. So one way is to press the keyboard shortcut L. Control L. I did it again. Control L, which brings up the panel called link/transfer data. And you can select copy modifiers. And if I click here, you will see something weird happening because it applied the modifier, but this object is different than this one. It's vertical. So let's change it also its value to the x-axis. I just wanted to copy the modifier. It's wrong, but I just want you to show that. Of course, we could use a modifier instead of making instances. Whatever works, no problem. So let's select this, shift click, shift click, shift click, Control L, copy modifiers, and the modifiers are copied, and this is the beauty part, that I can change this offset here, let's say 35 or 37.5 for some reason, and add some more duplicates and whatever. Maybe like this. And now I like this modifier because it has my numbers I created. So I select this one, shift click to this one, Control L to bring up the link panel, copy modifiers, and it copied the modifier with the specific distances, numbers. Also, if I want, if I have many modifiers, let's say all these items have modifiers, all of them have the array modifier, and I want to change something to this modifier, and I don't want to do copy modifiers on everything. What I can do is press Alt. Now the count is different, so I don't think it will do anything. But let's try. If I press Alt and do something, Blender understands that my the thing I am doing needs to be transferred to everything that has the same value. So if I press Alt and click here, it worked. So since they have different numbers, it just adds 1 because this arrow means add 1. So let's decrease this. Or maybe I want to, if I Alt click on constant offset, it Alt clicks on every modifier using this constant offset tick. So let's go here, click here, open this, and let's say I want to change. If I change Alt and click, I can drag to change number. I can also drag. See, my mouse turned into double arrows. So if I click and drag, no, I haven't pressed Alt now. Okay, I'm just showing you that you can change numbers by this way also. And And one final thing about this, which is really important, I have clicked and dragged left and right for the number to change, but the number changes for each 1 centimeter. I need more precision. If you need more precision on anything, you press and hold down Shift. And now my precision went to the decimal places. So you see 49.3.2.1. If I release Shift, it goes back to changing numbers by 1 centimeter. This also is useful for almost everything. Like if I want to move this G for grab, and I move my cursor now, it moves at this speed. If I press Shift, it moves really slow. So if you want to be very precise and you want to zoom in, come on, why? Okay. And I want to zoom into someone. I don't want to play snaps now. I just need to be really close. I press Shift. Okay. And else, you'll see how easy it is to move. Shift and detail movement. So if I want to copy a number on another modifier that has the same place for the numbers, because you cannot copy a number from an array modifier to a bevel modifier. They're different stuff. These boxes may look the same, but internally they're different. This box probably is called array box on the z-axis dot blah 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 blah. The other one bevel box. Okay, so let's say I would like the number 50. I right click on it, and you see there are many options. Copy the single number to selected. I have them selected, click, and it changed. Let's do this on the count number, right click, copy to selected, and everything went to 5 counts. So it may seem that I am talking a lot of time about modifiers, but for this object we are trying to make the moves are identical, because again I want to create just wooden panels on sides here and here. I will be doing the same thing over and over again. So there isn't much something new to say. So let's just use an array modifier. So I press Q for quick favorites, and I have it on my quick favorites because I always use it. And the way to add something to your quick favorites is to go to the modifier you want. You first have to add, you find it in the list, and above the name, right click, add to quick favorites. And then you will find it on the list that opens with Q, the Q button. So let's do this with the array modifier. And I see it goes on a weird direction, and yes, my rotations are weird. So Control A, apply the rotations to the world axis. Now I see it's fine. I'm not going to use the relative offset because I don't really know. It's 1.05 because my original width is 40, and you won't do it like this. You don't need to break your anyway, your mind. So I know that my distance inside is 40, and plus 2 the thickness of the sideboard, 42, and more duplicates here. And hey, I like the shape. Shift and D to the z-axis with snap here. And since I made Shift and D, And this is a modifier that creates the duplicates from the original. I just have to go to edit mode on this first object, select its vertices, move to the z-axis, snap here, tab to get off edit mode. Now, and everything else followed. Now, this model right now is a mess. Some things are instants, some things are not, some things use the array modifier. This is tragic. This is a tragic model. Okay, don't do it like this. If you are going to use instances, be concise, I think. Yeah, be, you know, always do it or leave it for each object. Don't mix stuff, because you will forget what is instanced. Okay, now one final thing on the modifiers part. You see next to the name array we have some icons. Again, these are all very important. We are not in edit mode. Okay, the first, let's say the second icon, the first icon will be, I can explain it better if we have the subdivision modifier on an item. Anyway, the second icon is called edit mode. And if you leave your cursor on it, it says display modifier in edit mode. So let's go in edit mode, select our object, press tab, and we are in edit mode. Okay, you can see it on your top left corner of the 3D viewport. If I turn this icon off, it means that I don't want the modifier to be displayed in edit mode. Click. Now, they're not deleted, of course, they're not showing. And this is really good when you want to work with ease on a specific object. Let's turn them back on. Now, the next icon is the monitor icon, display modifier in viewport. Okay, maybe I don't want to display all these items. Maybe it lags, it makes my viewport lagging. So probably I don't want it, because when you have the subdivision modifier, let's say, that smooths out, you will learn about it. It's a whole part of modeling, the subdivision modifier. So where is it? I don't have it because it's so important. They have a keyboard shortcut for it, Control and the number 2. Now my cube turned into an egg. Okay, no problem. And let's make it more smooth. Now, you won't see it, but it's smooth, but you don't see any polygons. That's because in the subdivision surface modifier, we have a tick here that's called optimal display, and you will understand why. If I unclick it, these are my polygons. Now, I can statistics. I can click on statistics, and for this object has 6,144 polygons with the modifier. If I turn the modifier off, it's a cube. It has 6 faces, but for some reason I wanted to create an egg. Who knows? Okay. And the levels here on the viewport and the render dictate how many subdivisions will happen to the original cube. So let's say if on the viewport, which I have it on 5 now, I decrease it 4, 3, 2, 1. Now this is the first subdivision. If you can figure out, this was the original face and it divided it by 4. The subdivision modifier finds every face and it divides by 4. So pretty quickly you will go to astronomical polygons, and if you want to skip work, you can take this to 50 and the CPU will crash and you will get 5 minutes of non-working. So why should I do this to a cube? You should do this to a cube because now I press tab to go on edit mode. And you see to display on edit mode, it's turned on, and you see the egg inside, but because I want to work on the original object, because now on edit mode, it's kind of turned off, the modifier. It shows you the cube. And I will give you a reason why you would like to start by placing a subdivision modifier to a cube. So I created an edge. The way I created it, this is called a loop, Control R. I take my mouse to where I want my loop to be created, and I click. Now, we're not finished because my cursor turned into 2 arrows, and I can move this this loop, and now I will click and leave it. And now my loop is there. Now let's do another loop, Control R, click, and you can start to understand why we would like to start like this. Let's make a pillow, right? A backrest for a couch. Now I will take these vertices and I will move them a bit back, and I would like to create a loop here and maybe another loop here, and I will select this vertex and move it maybe here. Now these are all basic stuff applied to different situations. That's why you need a lot of practice so you can see what every situation looks like. I'm just moving things around. I'm not doing anything weird, let's say. Now, we are in edit mode. We can see the original mesh. We can see the subdivision mesh. And now we have a chance to look at the first icon that says on cage. It's called adjust edit cage to modifier result. Oh, you don't need to understand what this means. You will see now. Let's click on it. And what it did, it took the edges of the original item and it placed them on the deformed mesh. So your visualizing the work now is a bit more easier, because I don't need to go somewhere up here to move the surface below here. The point has been taken onto the surface, onto the deformed surface. Anyway, now this might be 53,000 faces, but it's just the modifier. And if I click on display modifier in viewport, it turns back to my cube. Let's make it a bit better. My cube here. So Blender stores only the data for these vertices, not the data for these vertices. And if I have too many of these, my viewport will lag, will stall, will crash. So many times you will have a scene full of items like this that need a subdivision modifier, and you have them just the viewport turned off. You can work with ease. And the last icon is use modifier during render. Most of the time you would like your modifier to be visible in render. Sometimes maybe you make a wardrobe, let's say, and you have a lot of t-shirts and fabrics and all that stuff that all have a subdivision modifier applied not applied on them, and maybe your render will crash. Now, this will probably happen when you use items from a library that someone else made, and you just place them on your scene as decorations. And the guys who make the library assets, of course, want their assets to be to look good, and have the modifier on them at all times, and you place too many of them and you hit render and everything crashes because your GPU is out of memory, because it has to calculate the 50,000 polygons of a t-shirt that's like 10 meters away from your camera and will be seen just as a pixel. But the Cycles render engine needs to calculate the light bouncing off its surface. So, where's my, have I deleted? I deleted my library, whatever, not library, my bookshelf. So I have 60 undos. Now I can undo 60 times. It's not a big problem memory-wise for Blender. If you would like to be able to undo as many times as you wish, you should go to Edit, Preferences, and is it System? No, it's on viewport. Where is it? Anyway, don't worry, it has 30 undos by itself. You won't need so many. And it's good not to say versions, timestamps. I don't know where it is. Here you go. On the System tab, Memory and Limits, undo step 64. I have 64 undos to do. Don't worry about this, because on the Save and Load tab, you will see that the autosave function is turned on for every 2 minutes. It saves a file, and it's no ArchiCAD save. All this time, the file has been saved, and you haven't noticed it. And I know it's a small file, but even with a large file the size of, like, say, 1 gigabyte, if you manage to do that, you won't notice the save process in the background. So if you had something and you closed it and whatever, you lost it, you can always go to File, Recover, and Autosave. And this is my autosave list. You can see that I have, for today, I have these files, which are 867 megabytes, saved on all those different minutes, times. Probably I did something, a big difference, and anyway. And so if you want to finish your bookcase, again, it's the same thing. Click here. Now I couldn't see the snapping point clearly. Anyway, so I will go on tab. We have 4 minutes left. Do you have any questions while I finish my bookcase? Now, I don't like, maybe I'll change the sides to, I will go, you can navigate through the viewports by pressing the tilde key above tab. I know for the German keyboard, it's not the same, it's somewhere else. I think Sarah found it the last time. So I will move this to the back by 2, and I want my back to move here. It's not 2 centimeters. Control A, reset the scale. Move it down, move it a bit back here. Tab, points, transparency mode, points, move the points here, and I will copy the modifier, Control L. Wrong modifier to copy. Where have I? This one. This one has the modifier I like. Now, see, you must remember where is the modifier you would like. Anyway, and this is my book case. Next, Now, next time, I will make it even faster without explaining all of the stuff, so we can go to the materials part and see a bit of the materials. For now, we saw the array modifier, we saw mostly all the options on this modifier and some common features on every modifier. We watched again the instance duplicates, and what else? The transform options here. We saw the subdivision modifier. Yeah, let's make a sphere. Let's have fun. Control 2. Select this, and let's make a nose. And that's it. Any questions?
How do we do a big smile?
Nah, you can easily do a big smile by selecting. I will cut here, and cut here, and cut here. So select this. So move this G. Ta-da-da. And
Perfect.
and smooth.
Nightmare.
And of course, if you find it, Shift and A on the mesh tab, we have the monkey here. This is called Suzanne. This is Suzanne, the monkey. This the Blender's you know, how do you call it, mascot. So this is Suzanne. This is it's the same object. It's the same object. It's the object used to test materials and modifiers on, because it has a lot of difficult curves. It's the same concept as using the teapot in 3ds Max. So that's why we have Suzanne, and of course we needed a mascot. Anyway, so this is for today. I will upload the last lesson and this lesson, and see you on Monday. If you have any questions, please write me or email me. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Ilya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.